Please, Mom. Look at that man's face. The child's voice echoed loudly through the empty lobby. The silence that followed cut like a knife. Derek stood still, holding the elevator door open, his eyes fixed on the floor, his face marked by deep scars from old burns. He could feel the stares. The mother quickly pulled the boy by the hand and whispered, "Let's take the other elevator." Derek took a deep breath and slowly let go of the door. The voices faded away, leaving behind only the distant echo of those words, now etched into his memory. Asheville wakes up slowly. The Blue Ridge Mountains wrap around the city like a bluish-gray blanket. The crisp October air carries the scent of dried leaves and freshly brewed coffee from offices just beginning to light up. Derek Langston, 52, walks down Patton Avenue at 5:30 a.m. He always wears the same dark blue uniform with a black shirt and a laminated badge on his chest. Always clean, well kept, with his collar perfectly in place. He carries a thermos of coffee and a book, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. In the reflection of shop windows, the scars are visible, burns that reach from his neck up to his left temple. Skin marked by grafts and deep lines where facial expressions used to be. His left eye stays slightly more closed. His nose was reconstructed. He doesn't look away. He never does. The corporate plaza building is 12 stories high. Glass and concrete. Accounting firms, law offices, a dental clinic. Derek has worked there for 3 years as the day shift doorman. At 7 a.m., Derek takes his post. Always polite greetings. "Good morning, Mr. Peterson. Have a nice weekend, Mrs. Martinez." Always formal, always respectful. But the looks come first, then the subtle step back. They don't get too close. The conversation fades when he walks by. Derek always understood. Some wounds never stop showing. It was a Tuesday when James Morrison, manager at Harrison & Associates, walked into the lobby at 1:45 p.m. Expensive suit. Gold watch. He stopped at the front desk and looked Derek up and down. "Can you call me a cab?" "Of course, Mr. Morrison." Derek picked up the phone and dialed the central taxi number. "It'll be here in 10 minutes. Morrison nodded, but he didn't leave. He stayed there, scrolling through his phone. Other employees started showing up. Sarah from accounting, Mike from legal, Robert, one of the firm's partners. "You know what bothers me?" Morrison said quietly, still not looking at Derek. "Well, you all know." Sarah lowered her eyes. Mike coughed awkwardly. "He's just a guy doing his job," Sarah whispered. "I know, but man." Morrison gestured vaguely in Derek's direction. "It's unsettling. My daughter came here last week and got scared." Derek kept organizing papers on the desk. His fingers didn't shake. His breathing didn't change. He'd heard it before. "Maybe they should hire someone more presentable," Morrison continued. "At least during business hours." A taxi honked outside. "Your cab is here, Mr. Morrison." Morrison walked out without saying thank you. Derek did his security round. Through the glass door, he saw Jonathan Pierce, 38, a startup CEO in a meeting with investors. Jonathan noticed Derek and motioned for the others to lower their voices. "Just the night doorman?" he muttered. "Kinda creepy, but harmless." The investors glanced at Derek, visibly uncomfortable. Derek finished his check and walked away. Every word cut like a silent blade. The next day, the building was as busy as usual. Derek stood at the front desk, sorting through paperwork from the previous shift, when he heard quick footsteps and a child's voice. "Mom, wait." He turned his head naturally. A boy, about 8 years old, was running with a backpack on. The woman beside him, elegant, tired-looking, was pulling the child by the arm. As he always did, Derek stepped forward and pressed the elevator button for them. The doors opened with the usual metallic sound. He held them open with one hand, just like he always did. The boy stopped abruptly when he saw him. "Oh my God, Mom. Look at that man's face." The words came out loud, raw, with no intent to hurt, but they did. Derek didn't move. Hand on the doorframe, eyes on the floor, expressionless. Silence fell over the lobby like a heavy wave. Even the elevator buttons seemed to stop making noise. The woman, blushing with embarrassment, yanked the boy back and whispered through clenched teeth, "Be quiet. We'll take the other one." She turned to Derek with a tense smile. "I'm sorry, he's just a child. He doesn't know what he's saying." Derek nodded, a small gesture, kind, but it said everything. The elevator doors closed slowly. The soft ding still echoed as he walked back behind the desk, taking a deep breath. Later, during his floor check, he passed by 2 employees on the 7th floor. They were standing near the vending machine, chuckling quietly. "Did you see? That kid earlier, he just said what everyone's thinking." "Man, that face is hard to look at. Imagine seeing it every day." They laughed. Derek walked past without a word. They didn't even realize he'd heard them. Derek went into the restroom and looked at himself in the mirror. He splashed cold water on his face. The scars looked deeper under the fluorescent lights. He remembered the military doctor's words. "Third-degree burns are permanent, Sergeant. But you're alive, and so are your men." Derek dried his face with a paper towel. "You're alive," he whispered. To himself. Friday arrived under cloudy skies in Asheville. The office building moved to that familiar pre-weekend rhythm. Rushed footsteps, cold coffee, and hurried phone calls echoing through the hallways. Derek showed up early, as always. A light rain was falling, and he carried an old umbrella, nearly torn. He draped his coat over one arm, greeted the night shift guard with a slight nod, and made his way to the front desk. At 10:15 a.m., something broke the routine. A man, a delivery guy, skinny, looking no older than 20, came in out of breath, his shirt soaked from the rain. He was carrying a heavy server box in his arms. "Hey. Sorry. I've got this for the 10th floor. The client called and said they need it today." The elevator had already been shut down for scheduled maintenance, standard procedure every Friday. The kid stood still, staring at the stairs. "Great. This thing weighs a ton." Derek stood up. "Need a hand?" The kid hesitated. "Seriously? I've carried worse." Without waiting for a reply, Derek took hold of the bottom of the box. Together they began the climb. By the 3rd floor, the kid was already breathing hard. Derek kept a steady pace, calm, unhurried, but constant. By the 6th, the delivery guy sat down on the stairs. "Man, are you made of steel?" Derek gave a faint smile, said nothing, kept going. At the 10th floor, they set the box down. The kid thanked him 3 times. Derek just nodded. On the way back down, he stopped on. The 7th. He went into the restroom, washed his hands slowly, looked at himself in the mirror again. For a second, the reflection wasn't the one he knew. It was the man he'd been at 29. His body covered in dust, burned uniform, struggling to breathe as he dragged wounded comrades out of a burning Humvee. After 3 weeks in the hell of Fallujah, he came back with a medal, and half his face burned. The following week, Derek was at his post when guests began arriving for a private event on the 17th floor, a security and defense conference that included former military personnel, business leaders, and public figures. Standing beside the front desk, Derek held the door open for a group of guests. He greeted them with a polite nod. No one responded. Among the last to walk in was an older man with a solid build, a dark blazer, and neatly combed gray hair. He carried a leather folder under his arm and was speaking on the phone with a noticeable Texan accent. As he passed Derek, he stopped. The hand holding the phone froze mid-air. "One moment," he said, ending the call. The man took a step back. He stood in silence. His eyes locked on Derek's face, not with disgust, but like someone watching an old photograph come to life. "Excuse me," he began, his voice deep and respectful. "Did you serve in Iraq?" Derek nodded slowly, surprised. "Yes, Marines, Fallujah, 2005. The man set his folder down on the counter. Now his eyes held reverence. "My name is Charles Winthrop. Retired. Colonel, you pulled me out of a burning Humvee that November. I was a lieutenant back then. I thought I imagined your face in the weeks that followed. But it was you. It was you." Derek didn't respond right away. He just lowered his eyes, the way he always did when the past resurfaced. I only did what anyone would have done. Charles gave a faint smile, but his eyes were filled with emotion. Negative. No one else went into that burning hell. Just then, the building manager arrived, puzzled to see the colonel standing still at the front desk. He greeted them, offering a handshake, but Charles ignored it. "This man," he said, pointing to Derek, "is a hero. Well, he's a great employee. Always on time, very polite," the manager said awkwardly. "Polite? Do you even know who he is? Do you know what he did?" A few employees and visitors waiting for the elevator turned to look. The air was heavy with silence, the kind that comes right before something meaningful. Charles stepped closer to Derek, gripped his hand firmly. "You saved my life and the lives of 4 others that night. I spent years trying to find you. No one knew where you'd gone after you retired. And now, here you are, holding doors for people who don't even look you in the eye. It was my choice. I needed to work," Derek said. Charles turned to those nearby, now slowly gathering, drawn by the weight of the moment. "Has anyone here thanked a veteran today? Ever thought that the doorman, the cashier, the old man walking slowly down the sidewalk, might have done more for this country than most of us ever will?" No one answered. The manager swallowed hard. Charles looked around at everyone. This man deserves more than pitiful stares. He deserves respect. Derek tried to ease the tension. "Please, sir, I'm not looking for recognition." "I know, Sergeant. But sometimes recognition finds you, especially when it's long overdue." That evening, the conference on the 17th floor lost a bit of its spotlight. The lobby became the stage for an unexpected tribute, unplanned, but real. Employees began to approach. Some shook Derek's hand. Others simply nodded, unsure of what to say. But the atmosphere had changed. The man marked by flames now stood in a different light. And in that moment, a new respect was born. Because sometimes all dignity needs is one gesture to be seen. The next morning, at exactly 9 a.m., the manager came downstairs. He looked nervous, adjusting his tie. "Mr. Langston, can I speak with you for a moment?" Derek nodded. "Colonel Winthrop called me. He said you'd probably turn down any promotion, but insisted I try anyway." He pulled an envelope from his pocket. "Here's your new contract. Security supervisor. Double the salary, full benefits." Derek took the envelope without opening it. He looked at the manager, serious. "I'm not used to this." "I know, but you should be. What you did, no one here has forgotten." That afternoon, a boy, maybe 12 years old, approached the front desk. "Mr. Langston?" Derek turned. "My dad works here, and he told me you're a real hero. Can I shake your hand and take a picture with you?" Derek hesitated for a moment. Then he reached out his hand. "Of course you can, son." The months went by, but every day Derek was still there. Only now, the looks that followed him were different. They no longer turned away. They no longer judged. They saw him. And now everyone who passed by carried one simple lesson with them. Never judge a person by the scars they carry. If you enjoyed this story, click the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next.